I want to welcome you back to week number 6 of our STEP series. My name is Brett, I'm the executive pastor, and I am just so excited to give you an opportunity to dig deeper this week. Through this series, we're diving into how we can practically take that one step closer to Jesus. This week, we're looking at step number 6, lead. It was January 1st, 2018, and I watched one of the best college football games I'd ever seen. It was number 2 Oklahoma and number 3 Georgia in the college national championship semifinal game. My wife Kate and I had invited some friends over. We had the wings, we had the pizza, we had the soda, we had some vegetables too, because you got to have those because they're healthy. We had this whole mess of food sitting in our kitchen, and I had several of my buddies sitting in the living room with me who are also college football fans. And I remember we all thought this is going to be an amazing game. And it was. It absolutely lived up to the billing. It was a back and forth game. It was first Oklahoma, then it was Georgia, then it was Oklahoma, then it was Georgia. And I remember thinking to myself, these guys are going to have to dig deep to win this game. Whatever it takes, you got to get it done. And so towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, Oklahoma had the ball, they scored, Georgia turned around and scored. End of the game, these two teams were tied up and they went into overtime. Captains met in the middle of the field, did the coin toss, figured out the end zones, decided what they were going to do. And I remember watching that first overtime, looking at Georgia going, dig deep, whatever you got to do, just dig deep and get it done. Find that extra gear. See, I'd lived in the South for a number of years and I'd become an SEC college football fan, and I was desperate for Georgia to win. So I get excited when I watch college football. I was standing in my living room yelling at the TV going, dig deep, dig deep. Well, the first overtime ended and it was a tie. Both teams kicked a field goal. Then the second overtime, Oklahoma's got the ball. They do their downs. They go to kick the field goal and Georgia blocks it. So Oklahoma does not score. Georgia gets the ball back, and I'm standing yelling at the TV. The guys are in the room. We're all excited. And the first play from scrimmage, Georgia does a running play and gets knocked back 2 yards. So now they're 27 yards off the end zone. Next play, we're all yelling, going, win, you got to dig deep. Well, next play, Georgia running back takes it 27 yards and scores. Game ends Georgia 54, Oklahoma 48. Georgia goes on to play in the national championship against Alabama. One of the best games I had ever seen. Now, as adults, we understand this idea of digging deep, of doing whatever it takes to get the job done. Many of us are leaders in the workplace, or we have our own families, and so we're leading our homes, moms and dads, we've got our roles, and we know what it looks like to dig deep, right? We know what it looks like to do whatever it takes to get the job done. For some of us, we do it because we don't want to lose our job. For some of us, we do it because, like me, you're a type A personality and you're going to win. Doesn't matter what it takes. You're going to win and you're going to get the job done. For some of us, it's enough caffeine to kill an elephant, but it's what it takes to get the job done, so we do it. Now, we look at Christian leadership sometimes the same way. We look at it as, I have to bring my best to the table and do whatever it takes to get this done for God. But what if just for a moment, we asked ourselves the question, is Christian leadership like other leadership? Is God calling us to do whatever it takes to find that extra gear to get it done? See, when I read the Bible, I read a different take on leadership. I read where Jesus says, deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. I read, anybody who wants to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven must be your servant. And I begin to realize that Jesus' take on leadership doesn't look like everybody else's take on leadership. I had the privilege of going to school and getting a doctorate, an educational doctorate in leadership, and I spent 6 years of my life, 6 years of my life going to school to get this doctorate degree. And I read probably 400 or 500 books on leadership during that time. What's amazing is I didn't even scratch the surface on leadership of what's out there. But so much of leadership material is the same. A leader is somebody who's an influencer. A leader is someone who steps out in front. If you turn around and nobody's following you, you're not a leader. All these amazing ideas. And then I read Jesus on leadership, and I see a completely different way to think. If you remember this weekend, we looked at a passage in the book of Matthew where Jesus is talking to a group of guys named disciples. They're his followers. And he gets away up onto this mountain just outside of a city called Capernaum. And he starts talking to them about what it looks like to live in relationship to him. And I think the principles of that apply to Christian leadership. See, we think leadership in the Christian world starts out with us bringing our best and doing whatever it takes to get God's work done. And what Jesus does with his disciples is he goes, following me actually starts when you realize that your best is just not enough. And then you realize your need for me and you humble yourself and you pursue me. And in that pursuing, I begin to give you what it takes to get done what it is I'm asking you to do. And then we realize that the leadership traits that God is calling us into look more like mercy and peace and generosity and compassion and forgiveness than they do this almost militant, I'm going to get it done myself no matter what it takes. When we talk about leading here at New Life, we talk about it from a perspective of how Jesus sees it. See, if all of us bring our very best, we're going to bang into each other because my best might compete with your best. But if I realize that what it takes to lead in God's kingdom here at New Life is that I have to recognize that the skills that maybe I have in the job environment, they're not the same skills I need here. And I start to go, God, my best is not enough. What I need is I need your strength, I need your wisdom, I need your help. And I'm going to bring what you give me to the table and I'm going to lead. So then my leadership is characterized by humility and serving and compassion and generosity. It's not about me getting ahead or getting the most I can from myself. It's about me serving God's people in God's kingdom in God's way. In just a moment, we're going to turn off the video and you're going to have an opportunity to jump into some questions. I hope that you're going to be able to dig deep and begin to discover and live out all that God has for you as you take one step closer to Jesus. As I finish up, let me read for you our key verse. The scripture comes out of Colossians chapter 1, verse 9, and it says, "We ask God to give you complete understanding of what he wants to do in your lives, and we ask him to make you wise with spiritual wisdom." Enjoy your discussion together, and I hope you come and join us in one of our weekend services.